Hi there, I'm Nathan Hawthorne, an artist and secondary school teacher, here to show you how to be successful in your art GCSE and A-level exams. Or that's what I would have said if there was actually anything you could do to improve your grades at this point in time. However, that's not the case. Due to the lockdown, due to the coronavirus, this summer's results will be completely different to every year that has gone before. So stay tuned, because in this video I'm going to tell you what the government have chosen to do and why. So just a quick disclaimer, as usual, this video does not reflect my place of work, their views or the instructions that they've given us. All I'm doing is just explaining exactly what the government have laid out on the topic through Ofqual, who deal with all examinations and assessments. So as we know, when the governments closed the schools due to COVID-19 running rampant around the country and many other parts of the world, they also told us that the summer exams would no longer happen. Instead, they would come up with an alternative way to provide marks. And last week, that's the beginning of April, we got that. It was provided in this document here, which you can find in the description down below. So here's basically what it says. So the government is asking schools, their subject teachers specifically, to grade students themselves. Us teachers are to use our professional experience to make a fair judgment of what the students would have achieved had they actually sat their exams this year. Now, this isn't going to be off the top of our heads. Throughout the course of your GCSE, you've been working and we've been watching and marking and teaching. So the government has asked that we use non-exam assessments, homework assignments, mock exams and any other data that we have that provides us with information of student performance over the duration of the course. So the difficult part for us is that we have to rank every student in our year who is taking that subject. Now, I can imagine that being super hard for subjects which are taken by everyone, so ones such as maths, English and science. And my thoughts really do go out to all the teachers of those subjects who may have to sort through the data of hundreds of students and put them in order. But the purpose of this rank order is to help Ofqual, and once again that's the government's body that's in charge of exams and assessments, is to help them to standardize the grading across the country. But we'll come to standardization in a minute. Now, the thing that's most important when it comes to this way of grading is that we can't allow students to be disadvantaged by the fact that they weren't at school. And what I mean by this is, say that you have two students. So one of these students is an only child who has piles of art equipment at home and a large room with a desk at which they can do all their artwork undisrupted. But the second child, who is in exactly the same class as that child, they might be the oldest of 6 children and they share a room with 1 or 2 other siblings, and they've never been bought art equipment and they spend a lot of time helping out their parents. They look after their brothers and sisters and keep them occupied throughout the day, and there's not really that many quiet spaces or quiet times when they can get on with their work. Now, clearly, one seems to have more resources and time at their disposal to get work done than the other. And true, many people grow up in this in both situations, and they can end up either way. One could do really well and one could do really bad, no matter what background they came from. But even though this is true typically, why would we allow for there to be chance for even more disadvantage? Because these students would normally be in school and would therefore have some space to work normally. But that's completely gone now. So rather than exacerbating that possible disadvantage, they've tried to minimize that as much as possible. So what they've done to minimize external factors affecting the grades more than they usually do is to advise us teachers to use caution and be careful with how we mark anything that has been done after schools closed on the 20th of March. Okay, so it's going to be up to your teachers in school how exactly they choose to look at what has been done since. The document then goes on to say how schools do not actually need to make students complete any work to contribute to their final grade any longer. This is particularly relevant to us coursework-based subjects, or subjects where work is done over a longer period of time. It doesn't appear to be the case that moderators are going to pass by our schools like they normally do. even so, we've still been told to hold on to all of the students' work that's been done, just in case there's any other issues later, and Ofqual might want to come in and have a look at them and discuss any queries. So we're not really to set much work for the exams anymore, but any work that is done, that has been done throughout the last 2 or 3 years, depending on how long you do your courses for, and even some of the work that's been done since, it can still be collected in just for any issues later on. So now let's talk about standardization. Now, standardization is basically the system that's being put in place to ensure that everyone across the country is being graded properly. So basically, say that that student gets a grade 5 in Leeds, we need to make sure that it's the same in Strood, it's the same in West London, and it's the same in Portsmouth, and so on. Okay? All qualified teachers are trained to mark. It's part of our teaching standards, and it's how we get our qualified teacher status. So in a good school, teachers will also be sent on standardization courses every now and then anyway, and these will help us to make sure that we're still marking at a really good level and that we're staying abreast of any changes that are happening within the exam boards and the way that they do their testing. But the problem is that it's not without error. We're humans. We don't all think exactly the same, and there will always be slight inconsistencies. There always have been. This won't change with this system. However, to keep minimizing that level of error, so to keep that error to a minimum, Ofqual have created a model this year, or they're working on creating a model that will look at all the final GCSE grades that have been entered by the teachers and then compare it with a bunch of other factors. So I'm now going to quote directly from the document here, just so that you understand what they're saying or what they mean by that. So it says, we expect it will look at evidence such as the expected national outcomes for this year's students, the prior attainment of students at each school and college, and the results of the school or college in recent years. End of quote. So it's looking at a number of factors there and possibly some others, including how the school's done in the past, what some of those students were expected to get, or what students all over the country were expected to get, and things like that. This does get me thinking a bit, but I won't comment on it at the moment because they haven't finalized the system, so there's no point in worrying too much about what it entails until the full explanation comes out. Okay, so finally we come to you guys, the students and the parents. Now, teachers cannot tell you what your grades are, and this is an order from the top. We literally can't. And I think now's a good time to tell you that any grades or predictions that you receive before from teachers in the few months that came up to the lockdown, these are not your final grade. And to be honest, I wouldn't even think about these anymore. And to be honest, I wouldn't think about your final grade anymore either. The reason being that you won't get your grade for a while, and it's completely out of your control now. So although they've said that they hope to get them out earlier than the usual time they come out in August, it's still quite a ways off. So why even bother yourself or stress yourself out thinking about it when, to be honest, there's quite a lot to think about already during this time that we're living in. So once you get your grades, you can move on in your educational career as you normally would. Nothing's changed in that aspect. If you're really unhappy with your grades, then you can appeal, or you can reset them in autumn or in summer 2021. But I think generally speaking, unless it's completely going to mess up your future career goals, then it might actually be best to just leave the grades as they are and just move on when the next year school year comes around, because sometimes it's just not worth holding on to the past. But in the end, it's up to you. You know what you want. You know, I'm guessing, what you deserve. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens in a few months' time. You'll be happy to know that universities, colleges, and other institutions will all view your qualifications as no different to any other cohort. And so when we start back, you can be ready to just move on with your life. Things will continue the same. Your grade A in art, if you're an A-level student, will mean exactly the same as a grade A in art back in 2019. It's exactly the same. So now here's my call to action for you students. Have a word with your teachers, because now might be a good time to be looking into your further and higher education choices and their course content. So start to learn what you need to learn so that you can get off to a really good start next school year. Because as I've said before, nothing would be worse than showing up to your first lesson or lecture and realizing that you're missing half a year of knowledge, or that you're at only a satisfactory level of knowledge and ability. That would be you literally setting yourself up for months and years of struggle. So why not start getting in some of that knowledge and learning now? At least then you can start at least a bit ahead of where you would normally expect it to be, if not more than a bit. But when it comes down to that, the choice is up to you. If you want to sit around and play games all day, or if you find it more important to just focus on your family, that's up to you. And there's not anything necessarily wrong with that. It's just what you want to get out of the future and what your aims are. So that's it for today. Hopefully this video was useful and gave a good insight into what is going to be happening in the coming months in regards to your exams and grades. And if you have any questions, please do just drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I can. The main reason why I've done this video is not just to be informative, but also to put you students, you parents, you the groups that I'm really interested in supporting, the ones which gave me reason to start this channel, is to put you guys in a position of power. There's nothing worse than sitting on the sidelines while things are and choices are being made that directly affect you, but you don't really have much say in. And it's even worse when you don't understand why certain choices are being made or how certain things are being done when they have a direct effect on you and your future. So the reason why I've made this video is to put you into that position where you're at the most powerful that you can be. You understand exactly what's happening, what your options are, and how things are being done. So please try not to stress about this entire thing now. As I've said before, at the moment it really is out of your hands. Just get some rest, stay productive, and spend time with your family, and of course most of all, stay safe. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates and information on this subject, and also for other great videos on art education. So that's all for now. Until next time.